Was A Quiet Place inspired by Signs It Comes at Night and War for the Planet of the Apes? Was Ready Player One influenced by Avatar, Wreck-It Ralph, and The Last Starfighter? Is The Hurricane Heist more influenced by Sharknado or Geostorm? These are the kinds of questions my guest co-hosts and I discuss on my podcast, Piecing It Together. Every week we look at a new movie and try to figure out what other movies inspired it. Whether it's the story, the character development, tone, or even use of music. Every movie was influenced by something that came before it, and we want to figure out what. Check out Piecing It Together on your favorite podcast app or check us out on piecingpod.com. You can also follow us on social media at piecingpod. Piecing It Together is a part of the All
From one side of the war to the other, we've got two host to host. Welcome to another episode of the Fivecast Podcast. We're going to break down and examine intricately prepared top 5 lists for your enjoyment. From the Sentinel Tower in parts unknown, I'm your host Tyler, and at Second Floor Studios in Hollywood, it's Ben Pearson. How you doing, Ben?
Hey, what's going on, Tyler? How are you?
I'm excited for the Marvel Civil War movie, or whatever it's called, Captain America 4,
Captain America 3, Civil War. Yeah.
Civil 4. And I am just excited to do a top 5 Captain America villains episode. How about you?
Oh, Tyler, the memo that I got said we're supposed to be doing Iron Man villains.
What?
Oh, Dave, that son of a bitch.
You want to do Iron Man? And I want to do Captain America?
He's trying to incite a civil war within the Fivecast. Dave, you bastard.
Ben, I hate your guts. This is a civil war.
Right.
In this corner, I got Captain America's worst villains top 5 list, and Ben over in your Peasley corner, what do you got?
Iron Man's top 5 worst villains.
Oh, get ready to suck it, Civil War style, like Antietam or something. Let's go ahead and start with your number 5.
All right, my number 5 is I'm just gonna go right out and say that it's Ironmonger, which is Obadiah Stane from the first Iron Man movie.
That sounds like the worst villain I've ever heard of.
He's just it's such a boring character. It's like, oh great, the guy who runs the company, and he's like, it's like, oh god, like Iron Man is a good movie, it's fine, but when you're talking about superhero and supervillain face-offs, I just cannot think of something that's less interesting than Iron Man versus Ironmonger. It's just like one is slightly fatter than the other.
Yeah,
and they essentially have the same abilities in their suits. They can fly and shoot pulse beams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just like, God, and it's just, it's the whole the daddy issues thing, which comes up over and over again in the Iron Man universe. Obadiah Stane is sort of a surrogate father to Tony, and it's like, dude, you're probably banking. If you're Obadiah Stane, you're probably making, I don't know, $30 million a year or something.
Easily.
Just do your damn job and then live your life. Like, why do you have to take over the company? Why do you have to do just like? Are you serious? You're gonna try to take down Iron Man when you're making that kind of money? What the hell is going on? You're the whatever CTO or CEO of
CTO
of one of the most one of the biggest companies in the world, probably with Stark Industries. So I just don't I don't understand this character from a basic level. Like I mean I do on a very, very basic level. I get him, but I just don't think he's a good villain at all. So I'm gonna kick off my list with Ironmonger.
And also, isn't he played by Jeff Bridges?
He is.
Who, if we know anything from that Country Rose movie or whatever that movie was called, he's a terrible father figure.
Yeah,
he leaves that kid at the mall.
Yeah, man, I don't even remember the name of that movie. He won an Oscar for that movie.
Crazy Rose. Crazy Rose. Crazy Heart. There it is.
Yes, that's the one.
Nice. Yeah, so check that out. Academy Award for that. My number 5 worst Captain America villain, Ben. You'd be surprised. There are some terrible ones. But my number 5 isn't what you would use to get a coffee refill, Ben. A tumbler. I'm talking about a tumbler, an actual acrobat. His name is Tumbler. First appearing in Tales of Suspense number 83 back in 1966, It was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, where which probably means in reality created by Jack Kirby.
Stan Lee here. Yeah, put my name on that, Jack. King Kirby. Excelsior. Let's have a guy that spins around and stuff.
I don't know, Stanley. How about a guy, somersaulter?
Nah. How about Tumblr? I just made $1 million.
Man, those guys,
That is a disturbingly accurate impersonation, I think. I feel like I was just whisked away to 1961 Marvel
66.
offices. I was just right in there. I was a fly on the wall.
I really preferred the Jack Kirby. I feel like I was channeling him way better than Stan Lee. Well, anyway, John Keane is the Tumbler. He's a costumed criminal acrobat, and he intends to test himself against Captain America, so he just breaks into the Avengers mansion. He easily beats Cap in a struggle, but then it turns out that wasn't really Cap. It was just the super adaptoid who had taken Captain America's form but didn't have his fighting skills. So when the real Captain America came up, he beat the Tumbler easily, like just owned his ass.
I was thinking about putting Super Adaptoid on my list. I'm glad I didn't.
Well, he's pretty terrible. You would have been right on. And then I think a guy in my honorable mentions named Harder Man, who I guess was just like some bureaucrat, governmental bureaucrat, but his name's Harder Man. He sent the Tumbler to go like sully the name of Cap, and the Tumbler died. The Tumbler, I think, got shot in the head or something by Harder Man. So yeah, the Tumbler, he lived the way or he died the way he lived, tumbling under bureaucratic overgrowth. So thanks again, King Kirby, for blessing us with your presence here on an episode of the Fivecast. So my number 5 is Tumbler, not the cup, the actual guy who tumbles.
Right. Nice. All right.
Ben, your number 4. So if the listeners aren't up to speed yet, Ben has top 5 worst Iron Man villains.
Yes.
Who you will see in Captain America Civil War. And I've got Captain America's worst villains, which you'll also see him in Spider-Woman, Black Widow 9, the Sex Force. So please understand why we're bouncing back and forth. Ben, number 4.
My number 4 is Godzilla. Yes, that Godzilla.
Yeah, really?
I just feel like
the skyscrapers tall Godzilla?
That's the one.
Of Japanese descent?
Yes, with the flame breath and the living under the sea and all that jazz.
With Sebastian the Crab.
King of the Monsters, that guy. Why the hell is Godzilla gonna face up? Tyler, can you give me a scenario in which Godzilla would need to fight Iron Man? And look, I'm telling you right now, I haven't read these comics. I don't know the in canon reasoning behind this, but just from the outside looking in, it looks like a really blatant ploy to try to attract two diverse audiences together and just capitalize on fandom, and that's something that I just don't really take kindly to.
Well, so let me tell you, Ben, why don't you close your eyes and I'll take you back to the 1970s.
Okay.
Show you why Godzilla showed up in an Iron Man comic.
Okay.
Hey, Stanley, I'm here. I don't know why you called me into the office at 3 in the morning.
Hey, what I was expecting,
King Kirby, I just watched this movie. It's called Godzilla. I need you to have 70 pages on my desk by tomorrow morning of Iron Man fighting this dinosaur.
There it was. That was the historical event that sealed the fate of Godzilla versus Iron Man.
It was all because Stan Lee just
watched the movie. He watched the movie and then made Jack Kirby do all the work. Classic Kirby Lee cooperations.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Japanese people couldn't bring Godzilla down. Why would one Iron Man be able to do it?
It just seems so unnecessary.
Yeah.
And in all of the infinite imagination of the world of the creators of Marvel, that's what you come up with is just fighting Godzilla. I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a bad mood. But,
you got Fing Fang Foom, who's basically a Godzilla-esque character. It's just a huge dragon.
Right, which makes the actual face-off against Godzilla even more unnecessary, I think.
Right.
So
I see what you're saying. That's a pretty terrible villain, so it makes sense that it's on the list.
for sure.
Not Godzilla in its own universe, but in the Marvel universe. Yeah, what are you doing here, dude?
Yeah, get out of here.
My number 4 is not the animal porcupine, but the supervillain porcupine. He wears a suit that has spikes on it, I guess.
No, he doesn't. This isn't real.
Yeah, he's originally a scientist. He first appeared, of course, in Tales to Astonish number 48 from 1963. It was created by Stan Lee and Don Heck.
Hey there! How about a supervillain named after this animal I hit with my car this morning? 85 pages on my desk. End of day.
Alexander Gentry, or the Porcupine, was originally a scientist who worked as a weapons designer in the Army. He conceived the idea of designing a battle suit in imitation of a porcupine. It would be covered with quill-like projectiles for defense. Of course, he put on the suit, and he became the Porcupine, one of the first costumed professional criminals of his generation. So I guess he can pat himself on the back for doing
he's really
that.
got a lot of notoriety right there. Man, I just love the image of Stan Lee just driving like a maniac through from Long Island or whatever into Midtown Manhattan, trying to get to the Marvel offices, and just careening through back roads and woods and just running shit over and just making mental notes of like, that's gotta be a hero, that's gotta be a villain, running it over, left, right.
New supervillain, the porcupine.
Yeah.
There's also the armadillo, which I was going to have tie with the porcupine, but that actually was created as a joke. He's a silly monster that creator Mark Grunwald created basically as a throwback joke.
Okay.
But the porcupine was a legit villain.
Wow.
And there's been multiple porcupines, Ben. There's Alexander Gentry, Roger Gocking, and Billy Bates. So 3 guys thought it was a good idea in the Marvel Universe to be like, you know what? I'm going to be the porcupine.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty terrible villain in my book. Anything named after a small animal, like Ant-Man, is pretty much by terrible names as far as superheroes. But either way, anything smaller than, let's say, I'm going to say like a hippopotamus. Anything smaller than a hippo, like, don't even bother. Like, I'm scared of hippos, so Hippo Man, I'm on board. But anything smaller than a hippo, no dice.
All right,
Ben,
so
number 3.
My number 3 is Midas. Mordecai Midas, born in Athens, Greece, a starving child in Europe. I don't know what your parents are expecting if you keep that last name. Don't you think that there's going to be some sort of villainy in the family, some sort of addiction to gold and things of that sort?
He's gotta be a supervillain.
So apparently he wanders around modern times wearing ancient Greek clothing, and he supports his enormous weight by wearing a powered exoskeleton. So it's basically, I mean, again, I should make this extraordinarily clear that I'm not hip to the ins and outs of Midas in the Marvel Comics universe. So please, if anyone is, and you're listening to this, shoot us an email. Let us know what you think about Midas and how he sort of fits into the larger mythology. But to me, this guy, again, from the outside looking in, just seems like another version of Ironmonger, except he has this terrible ancient Greek gimmick where he's just like, well, Midas, I'm just going to lean right into that. I'm not thinking any, it's another one of those the Stan Lee sort of scenarios. That sounds very much like our old friends Bob and Phil, just
those guys
rolling through an Encyclopedia Britannica and just like, slapping their finger down in the middle of the pages as they whiz by and just being like, well, that sounds good. We'll just come up with a guy who does that.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, Bob, what's up?
You know all the fame that Thor's been getting?
Oh, yeah.
Those guys across the street there, they got Thor as a freaking superhero, and they were just reading Edith Hamilton's mythology. I started reading that last night. I got a new character, Midas.
Oh, let me hear it. Midas.
That's it. Dionysus. There's a new guy. Demeter. Done.
Oh, so
Hades. Cerberus. I got all night.
What we do is we just have these guys be in the modern day, and then they just dress like those characters.
It's exactly what I saw in my mind's eye, Phil. You read me like the book I was just talking about.
Brilliant.
Scene. So yeah, just lazy all around, Ben. Does he commit any crimes successfully, or is he just laughed out of the bank?
No, it actually looks like he's killed
Oh God,
a number of people. Yeah.
As a terrorist, he's very successful.
Yeah, I mean, he carries a drug spray that gets his victims addicted to drugs.
Not gold.
He at one point he turns into a being of living gold, but I think it's just that's like at the tail end of the character's history.
Yeah. Before he dies of boredom.
Yeah, he looks to have fought Sam Wilson, the Falcon.
Okay.
He became determined to stop his brother's company, and then donned a different a different guy became Midas later on down the line. He was like obsessed with his brother's company and stopping that.
Yeah.
That guy's last name wasn't Midas, so that one actually should be this slot on my list because he has no real sense, no real even connection to the name. It's like it makes even less sense that Malcolm J. Merriwell would don the alias of Midas, the Golden Man. So
because his name's not Midas.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't even have that tenuous connection.
Yeah,
so.
he could just be called the Merry Man. He's done.
Yeah, man.
So any names as far as creators? Was that a Stan Lee?
Let's see.
Or was that a Bob and Phil original?
I'm having some. Oh, it looks like Archie Goodwin and George Tuska created this guy
go.
in 1969.
Oh, up top. Ben, my number 3 is Cap villain. He's pretty terrible. When I first saw his name, I was like, oh, it's just a guy that steps on flags, huh? But I think he's a little more serious than that. But still, I thought and the initial terribleness of his name popped out at me. This is Flag Smasher. Flag Smasher.
You got to be kidding me.
He smashes flags. Created back in 1985, the tail end of 1985 to be exact. Captain America 312, created by Mark Grunwald, the aforementioned Mark Grunwald, and Paul Neary. Paul Neary. He is a human. His alter ego is Carl Morgenthau, and he hates nationalities. He hates every nation. He does not have a nation. He is a man who hates nations. He hates Americans. He hates the Soviets. He hates Nazis. He just does not like patriotism at all. So he'll take your flag, Ben, and he'll smash it. That's pretty much it. That's all he's a terrorist, I guess.
Has he actually done anything other than commit crimes against the physical pieces of cloth themselves? Or?
I mean, he commits terrorism. A one-man terrorist campaign in New York City for a while. He is eventually, of course, captured by Captain America. He's part of the Ultimatum, the underground liberated, totally integrated mobile army to unite mankind.
Wow.
That's a long shot there. He was eventually installed as the ruler of Rumikistan, but then it was later revealed that he had been assassinated. So we knew.
So someone was posing as him.
We knew you well, anti-nationalist flag smasher. You are not interesting enough for me to continue to read your Wikipedia article, but keep smashing those flags up in heaven, dude.
Man, that is great.
Well, I'll see you in hell. Ben, that's it. Number 2.
So my number 2, I'm calling an audible on this. I just discovered this guy. His name is the Stunt Master. Mm-hmm. George Smith, a retired overage stuntman who was offered $1,000 by a character called Crime Wave to kill Daredevil.
Okay. Any relation to the Tumbler?
I don't know. It's unclear.
I'm sure during his stunts he's had to tumble once or twice.
A retired overage stuntman who, I mean, I don't know. His abilities are he's a skilled stuntman.
Yeah. That's the last person I would employ to kill fucking Daredevil.
Well, listen.
Have you seen that guy?
I'm not above the idea of a stuntman being a supervillain or even just a regular run-of-the-mill villain, but you got to be in your prime. I mean, that's the whole thing about stuntmen, right? And women is like these people are putting their bodies on the line to get the shot every day.
Sure.
And if you're retired and overage and you're desperate enough to take $1,000 to try to kill a superhero in New York City,
Yeah.
I feel like you got to ask for way more than that if you're actually going to try to do it, because you got to know that you're going to get wrecked, and at the very least do some jail time. At the worst, probably die.
Yeah, especially at Daredevil's hands.
This is not somebody who messes around. He worked with the Ghost Rider, with Johnny Blaze, on a Stuntmaster TV show, but he is not him. He's just the overage retired guy.
Okay.
So I feel like Stuntmaster. Maybe he was a Stuntmaster, but I don't even think that name applies at that stage in his career.
Sounds like a very, very low chart topping hit by Metallica. Stuntmaster, master. I hope Joe listens to this episode just so he gets the Metallica reference. It's not even really a reference. That guy sucks, Ben. I gotta say, like,
really terrible.
Yeah, when you said retired, out of shape stunt man, out of his prime, not nowhere near going up against Daredevil, much less Iron Man.
Yeah, not at all.
Terrible. Moving right along, my number 2 is King Cobra, mostly because I do not like the liquor. The malt liquor King Cobra left me gutless the day after I took in one can. I was left without a digestive system.
Wow.
It completely irradiated all of my intestines, my inner workings, my gastronomical abilities were completely disabled. But he's also a Cap villain, so I have to put him at my number 2 because I hate King Cobra so much that he's been dragged down with it. This is obviously another Lee Heck creation back in 1963, premiering in Journey into Mystery number 98, Ben. The fictional character of King Cobra. I think he was originally called Cobra. Klaus Voorhees, no relation to the original Jason Voorhees. And he was an ex-convict with he was a Dutch lab assistant, and he was a scientist. Anyway, King Cobra's pretty terrible. He attempted to manufacture a cobra serum to transform others into similarly powered slaves, but was thwarted by Thor, although he escaped using Jane Foster as a hostage. So he's gone up against Cap, he's gone up against Thor, he's gone up against Spider-Man, presumably losing all those times. He was just a pretty terrible all-around villain. Let's see if this guy's dead. No, he was part of the original Serpent Squad, though, of all those snake-related characters. He joined the original Serpent Squad with the Eel and the Viper, Ben. The Eel and the Viper.
Okay, that sounds like a great Game of Thrones episode.
Mm-hmm. The Serpent Squad? Or the Eel and the Viper? Ooh, yeah. That might be the name of the episode. No, it's probably not. Ben, we've made it all the way. Your number 1 worst Iron Man villain versus my worst Captain America villain. Let's see who wins.
All right, I'm guessing you will, because my guy's pretty bad, but not even really in that entertaining of a fashion. So his name is The Actor. He is a communist spy created, of course, by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Hey!
He appeared
Still here!
He appeared exactly one time in comic fandom, in comic lore, in Tales of Suspense number 42 in June of 1963. Within the context of the story, the actor is a man who is skilled at impersonation. He attempts to steal weapons plans from Tony Stark. He manages to discover Stark's dual identity as Iron Man. He, of course, loses those plans to Stark. And then the actor, the one thing that he can do, like I said, impersonation, I don't know if he is great at being a master of disguise, or if he just sort of does like a bad De Niro impression, and people are like, oh, that's entertaining, and he like distracts people with that. So he, before he is able to pass along the identity of Iron Man, he is executed by an unknown superior for his failure in losing the plans. So he is a one-hit wonder in the worst sense, a guy who actually managed to almost fail into success, into uncovering information that would have been valuable to his bosses, and then could not actually perform the simple task of sending a telegraph or doing any sort of communication whatsoever in the 1963 Marvel universe.
Yeah.
So he was, I'm going to say rightly, justly executed because of he's just bad at his job. That's what it boils down to.
Hey, King Kirby. What is it, Stanley? Hey, I was watching a movie. It had an actor in it. It kind of reminded me of all the work we got to do today. Let's just add the actor. Sounds great, Stanley.
Scene.
I like how he calls him Stanley instead of Stan Lee.
Well, if you read interviews, whenever he talks to Stan Lee, he calls him Stanley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. I legitimately enjoy that.
Okay. I think I got you beat, Ben, with probably the worst Captain America villain of all time.
Really excited about this.
I got to go with Adolf Hitler.
Oh, yeah. That's a total winner. Absolutely.
I mean, just appearing for the first time, Cap is punching this motherfucker in the face.
Yes.
So deserved. He ruled
Has
Germany.
there been a more deserving punch in the face?
Yeah.
That's the question. In
just-
history. I don't think there has been.
That punch had the American and European just fucking power behind it.
Yeah.
Punching that asshole. Of course, ruling Germany from 1933 until 1945 until his untimely death in a bunker.
Untimely.
Or perfectly timely. He was the Fuhrer of Germany until, of course, we kicked his ass. America. And, of course, the European countries of the United Kingdom, as well as France and the Soviet Union. But, Ben, did you know that in the comics, once Hitler was defeated, Captain America wandered. He wandered fighting guys like the Tumbler, the Porcupine, Flag Smasher, King Cobra. But eventually, Ben, he got to an Adolf Hitler clone by the name of Hatemonger.
No, I've never heard of
He
this.
is a clone. I'm going to say equal at my number one. Adolf Hitler original and the Adolf Hitler clone both get the number one spot for pretty terrible people. And so, of course, your Stan Lee and your Jack Kirby created the Hatemonger in 1963. Fantastic Four number 21 was his first appearance. He's a clone of Adolf Hitler, the aforementioned Adolf Hitler. He's affiliated with the team of Nazi Germany. He's also known as the Fuhrer, Nazi X, and Edmund Heidler. Ben, listen to some of these abilities. He's a cunning strategist. He's a charismatic leader. He's a good hand-to-hand combatant. He has an armored exoskeleton battlesuit. It allows for super strength. He has ability to cause feelings of intense hatred, fear, and dread. And he is able to consume that fear. Now, after he's resurrected, he is a being of pure energy. He can shapeshift, he can regenerate, and he has laser-like beams that come out of his eyes. So, the Adolf Hitler clone, aka Hatemonger, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Hey! Pretty terrible Cap villain. I hope Cap punches this guy multiple times in the face on the cover of his comic books forever and ever. Ben, what do you think?
This is one of those rare cases, Tyler, where I feel like the Adolf Hitler and maybe even the clone, if you want to be generous, could end up at the number one spot for worst villains list and best villains list for Captain America.
Sure.
There are not many occasions where that could be the case in five cast history, but I feel like he is notorious enough, and there were like enough real world consequences to to the importance of people seeing that image on that comic book cover, and like the ripple effects that had in real life, and then also the ridiculous aspects that you just mentioned sort of cheapen it because as you know, the real man himself was bad enough. So adding these other things just sort of like is almost insult to injury kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like a case could be made for best and worst, but I'm glad it's number one on your worst spot. I feel like anytime Hitler gets something that's a number one on a worst list, he gets an extra few whippings in hell or whatever. Whatever's going
well,
on.
You make a fair point. I don't know if I want to put Adolf on any best list, but most formidable. How about that?
Sure.
The most formidable Captain America villain. He would definitely be in there. But yeah, he was a terrible human being. I don't know what Cap had to go through when he punched that guy right in the chin.
And I guess
he should have died. He should have died. The punch should have been superhuman and killed that man.
Because Hitler, as we all know, famously had a glass jaw. So,
why is my jaw so glassy?
So, no, you know what? I think actually it makes
Poland.
more sense that he would be on the worst list because he probably delegated all of the real hard work, the real bad stuff, to Red Skull and people of that sort.
Dr. Faustus.
Right on with this one.
Well, that's it, Ben. The Civil War is over. But enjoy in theaters Captain America Civil War 3, The Fight for Iron Claw. Where, of course...
Black Widow and Black Cat and Spider-Man Sex Club.
Black Falcon Hulk Smash to Mars. We've crunched the numbers, Ben. I apologize for jumping down your throat earlier in the episode. It was fucking Dave's fault. We had a miscommunication. The emails, I mean, when Dave forwards us an email for the 15th time and all you see is FW:FW:FW, like, I don't sometimes read the subject line. It's annoying, and I think he should be fired. But I mean that's something.
He is an unpaid intern. So.
That's something we're gonna have to discuss off mic. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Dave. God, why is he staring at us through his cage?
I don't know.
The balls on this guy.
Yeah.
We've crunched the numbers. That's the end of the show. We hope you enjoy the Marvel Civil War. Go and read the comic from the mid-2000s. It's really good. I don't know if they're going to be drawing anything from it or it's just going to be punch, smash for 2 hours. Either way, I really love those films. And, of course, you can tell us all about your Civil War experience or your favorite, or at least favorite, Iron Man, Captain America villains. You can email us, fivecastpodcast@gmail.com. You can also connect with us on Twitter, iTunes, SoundCloud, Geek Tyrant, and, of course, podtyrant.com, where there's a bunch of other shows that are just as goofy and entertaining as ours. Some of them are actually pretty serious and professional and quite good. And so, yeah, if you're a fan of the Fivecast, you haven't seen anything yet when you go over to podtyrant.com. Like, there are great shows out there. But we hope that you continue to come back to the Fivecast because we do like talking about this kind of bullshit, and we enjoy your viewership. So just type in Fivecast, you'll find us. Ben, you enjoy the show, right?
I do, yeah.
All right, great. That means it's going to continue. Where can the Fivecasters find you in cyberspace?
Excuse me. Wow, if I survive to next week, Tyler.
Oh God, you know what's happening is Midas is in here. He's drugging you.
I am
bleeding
solid gold now. This is a problem. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter, twitter.com/Ben Pears.
Yeah, so if you like Marvel comics, if you like the Marvel movies, go over to our iTunes and leave us a review. But keep the Marvel movies in mind when reviewing us, so that we get 5 out of 5s every time, because people love those Marvel movies. I'm telling you.
That'd be great.
You can of course find me on Twitter at Alan Treburn, Traherne. I also run the Pod Tyrant Twitter at Pod Tyrant, so if you want to keep up with the episodes there. And until next week, Ben, I have to ask you, take 5. Bye-bye, buddy.
Take 5.